She walked into the luxury dealership dressed in simple jeans and a white t-shirt, her eyes lighting up at the sight of her dream car. The salesman's gaze cut through her like ice as he looked her up and down. "I'm sorry, but I think you're in the wrong place," he sneered, pointing toward the exit with manicured fingers. "These vehicles start at $300,000. Perhaps the used car lot down the street would be more appropriate for your budget." The showroom fell silent. Staff members exchanged knowing smirks. Wealthy customers in designer clothes stared openly, some whispering behind perfectly manicured hands. Her cheeks burned with humiliation, but she lifted her chin and walked out without a word, dignity intact despite the public shaming. The next morning, heads turned as the unmistakable purr of a rare engine approached. A gleaming Bentley Bacala, one of only 12 in existence, worth a staggering $1.80 million, rolled to a stop directly in front of the main entrance. The uniformed chauffeur stepped out with military precision, opening the rear door with white-gloved hands. When the passenger emerged, the watching salesman's jaw dropped so hard it nearly hit the floor. He never saw it coming. The prestigious Los Angeles luxury automobiles sparkled under the California sun. Vast glass walls showcased a kingdom of automotive dreams: Porsche, Bentley, Aston Martin, Ferrari, each more expensive than most people's homes. Samantha Wilson, Sam to those who knew her, stepped through the doors, her chestnut ponytail bouncing slightly with each step. Her simple white t-shirt, well-worn jeans, and minimal makeup reflected a woman who valued practicality over presentation. At 35, she exuded a quiet confidence that came from knowing exactly who she was. What wasn't apparent from her modest appearance was that Sam was the founder and driving force behind the Wilson Foundation for Children with Rare Diseases, an organization that had transformed thousands of young lives. Years before meeting her now husband, she had built the foundation from nothing, pouring her heart and education in pediatric medicine into creating real change. As she entered the showroom, her eyes immediately fell on a sleek emerald green convertible perfect for her sister's 40th birthday. Jessica had always dreamed of owning a luxury car, and after beating breast cancer last year, Sam wanted to give her something truly special. She could easily afford it. Her foundation's success and personal investments had made her comfortable in her own right, though few knew that. Across the showroom, Tyler Reynolds adjusted his crimson tie and straightened his charcoal suit jacket. As sales manager, he prided himself on being able to spot serious buyers instantly. At the sight of Sam in her casual clothes, he smirked and nodded to his colleagues. This would be amusing. "Good morning," Sam smiled at a young salesman named Marcus who approached her. "Welcome to Los Angeles Luxury Automobiles. I'm Marcus. Is there something specific you're interested in today?" Before Sam could respond, Tyler smoothly intercepted. "I'll handle this, Marcus," he said, then turned to Sam with a practiced smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Looking for directions, ma'am?" And just like that, Sam's day at the dealership began, a day that would change perspectives for everyone involved. "Actually," Sam replied pleasantly, "I'm interested in that emerald green convertible." She pointed to the $285,000 vehicle displayed on the elevated platform. Tyler Reynolds' smile tightened. He'd seen this before: people wandering in to daydream about cars they could never afford. With end-of-month quotas looming and 3 serious buyers expected that afternoon, he had no time for fantasies. "That's the limited edition Viper Elite. Only 15 were made this year," he said, emphasizing each word as if speaking to a child. "Perhaps I could direct you to our pre-owned division? They're in a separate building about 3 blocks west." Sam noticed how his eyes darted over her simple clothing, lingering on her scuffed sneakers. She was accustomed to such judgments. Most people had no idea she deliberately chose this way of living, finding freedom in simplicity despite having access to immense wealth. "I'd really like to learn more about this one," she persisted politely. "Is it possible to see the interior?" Tyler's expression soured. Behind him, 2 salesmen exchanged knowing glances. "The Viper Elite is by appointment only," he lied smoothly. "Our serious clients typically schedule private viewings." Just then, a couple dressed in designer clothing entered. Tyler's demeanor transformed instantly. "Please excuse me," he said to Sam without actually looking at her. "Why don't you take a brochure? Marcus can help you with that." He strode toward the couple, arms outstretched in welcome. Mr. and Mrs. Davidson, wonderful to see you again. Marcus, the younger salesman, approached Sam with an apologetic smile. He couldn't be more than 25, and his suit seemed a size too large. I'm sorry about that, he said quietly. Would you like me to tell you about the Viper Elite? I would. Thank you, Sam replied. As Marcus enthusiastically described the vehicle's features, Sam noticed Tyler leading the well-dressed couple directly to the Viper Elite. He opened the door with flourish, inviting Mrs. Davidson to sit inside. The same car he'd claimed was appointment only. That's quite all right, Sam assured the now uncomfortable Marcus. I understand how these things work. Across the showroom, Tyler was performing his well-rehearsed sales routine. This particular model has a waiting list of 8 months, but I've set aside one for special clients. Mrs. Davidson ran her hand along the leather interior. It's exquisite, but I'm not sure about the color. We could certainly discuss custom options, Tyler assured her. Sam approached quietly, standing just within earshot. Excuse me, she said. I was hoping to inquire about purchasing this model. Tyler's face reddened. As I mentioned earlier, this vehicle is being shown to these customers, he said with barely contained irritation. Perhaps you could come back another time or, as I suggested, check our pre-owned options. The couple looked uncomfortably between Tyler and Sam. I'm specifically interested in this car, Sam stated calmly. For my sister's birthday next month. Tyler stepped away from the Davidsons, lowering his voice. Look, I understand people like to dream, but this is a place of business. That vehicle will cost more than most homes. Now, I've been patient, but you're interrupting a legitimate sale. Several nearby customers had stopped to watch the uncomfortable exchange. Marcus hovered anxiously at the periphery. I'm prepared to make a cash purchase today, Sam said, maintaining her composure. That was when Tyler's professional veneer completely cracked. He laughed, a short, harsh sound that echoed across the showroom floor. Several heads turned. A cash purchase? Really? His voice was louder now, designed to humiliate. This isn't a yard sale. We're talking about $250,000. People who can afford these cars don't dress like Dash. He gestured dismissively at her outfit. Sam felt her cheeks flush, not from embarrassment but from a slow-building anger. Not for herself. She'd experienced such treatment before, but for anyone who had ever been judged by their appearance. I believe my money is as good as anyone else's, she said quietly. Tyler stepped closer, towering over her. Let me be clear, he said, no longer bothering to hide his disdain. You are wasting my time and embarrassing yourself. Either make an appointment for a serious discussion, dressed appropriately, or please leave the premises. The showroom had gone silent. The Davidsons had stepped away from the car, visibly uncomfortable. Is there a problem here? A newer voice joined the conversation. The dealership's owner, Richard Parker, attracted by the commotion. Tyler straightened his tie. No problem, sir. Just explaining to this lady that we operate by appointment for serious buyers. Richard Parker assessed the situation quickly, taking in Sam's simple appearance and the watching crowd. His expression made it clear which side he was taking. I see, he said. MS? Wilson, Sam supplied. Samantha Wilson. Miss Wilson, perhaps there's been a misunderstanding. Our clientele typically, they understand the exclusivity of our vehicles. I understand perfectly, Sam replied, her voice steady despite the humiliation burning in her chest. Your sales manager has made your policies quite clear. Tyler stepped forward again, his voice dripping with condescension. If you're genuinely interested, which I doubt, you can call for an appointment. But I'd suggest bringing proof of funds and dressing the part. These cars, he gestured around the showroom, are for a certain class of people. A murmur rippled through the onlookers. Someone snickered. Sam looked around at the judging faces, at Tyler's smug expression, at the owner's tacit approval of his employees' behavior. She'd faced discrimination before, but rarely so blatantly, so publicly. I see, she said simply. With dignity intact but spirits bruised, she turned and walked toward the exit. Behind her she heard Tyler's voice, not quite quiet enough. Some people just don't know their place. As she pushed through the glass doors into the morning sunlight, Sam pulled out her phone. The humiliation stung. but a small, resolute smile formed on her lips as she dialed. The Wilson estate sat on 5 quiet acres outside Los Angeles. Its understated elegance revealed nothing of the billions behind its ownership. David Wilson preferred it that way. At 41, the tech visionary had revolutionized electric vehicle battery technology, building a fortune while maintaining a deliberately low profile. When Sam entered his home office, David looked up from his desk, immediately setting aside his work. 15 years of marriage had taught him to read her expressions with precision. Something was wrong. "What happened?" he asked, moving around the desk to meet her. Sam sank into a leather chair, the morning's events washing over her. "It was educational," she said with a wry smile that didn't reach her eyes. She recounted the experience at the dealership, the condescension, the humiliation, the blatant discrimination. As she spoke, David's expression darkened, but he remained silent, giving her the space to process. "It's not about me," she concluded. "I have the privilege of walking away knowing the truth. But how many people get treated that way every day without the comfort of knowing they actually could afford what they're being denied?" David nodded thoughtfully. In their years together, this was what had always moved him most about Sam, her consistent concern for others, even when she herself had been wronged. "So what would you like to do about it?" he asked finally. "Part of me wants to do nothing," she admitted. "Just buy Jessica's gift elsewhere. But then I think about that young salesman, Marcus, who treated me with respect regardless of how I was dressed. And I think about all the people who face that kind of judgment without having any recourse." She looked directly at David. "These people need to understand that worth isn't determined by appearance. But I don't want vengeance, I want awareness." David nodded slowly, a plan forming. "I think I might have an idea that accomplishes both." "Nothing too dramatic," Sam warned, knowing her husband's protective instincts. "No buying the dealership and firing everyone." David laughed. "Nothing so kitsch. But maybe," he leaned forward, eyes twinkling, "a little education is in order." Together they crafted a plan not for revenge, but for enlightenment, something that might change perspectives more effectively than simple retribution. "Are you sure you don't want to come along?" David asked when they'd finalized the details. Sam shook her head. "This isn't about me needing to witness their comeuppance. It's about them learning to see beyond appearances." She paused, then added with a smile, "But I expect a full report." As evening settled over their home, David made several phone calls, setting things in motion for the following morning. Tomorrow would bring a powerful lesson in humility and the danger of assumptions, not just for Tyler Reynolds, but for everyone at Los Angeles Luxury Automobiles. The following morning arrived with picture-perfect weather. Tyler Reynolds entered Los Angeles Luxury Automobiles with a confident stride, straightening his signature crimson tie. Yesterday's incident with the underdressed woman had become an amusing anecdote he'd shared over drinks with colleagues, another delusional dreamer thinking she belonged in the world of luxury. The showroom gleamed under carefully positioned lights, exotic cars arranged strategically to maximize their allure. Tyler had just finished the morning staff meeting, emphasizing the importance of qualifying customers properly. "Remember," he'd instructed the sales team, "our time is valuable. We cater to a specific clientele. It's not elitism, it's efficiency." Marcus, the young salesman, had remained quiet during the meeting, his discomfort evident. Tyler made a mental note to have a word with him about proper customer assessment. At precisely 10:17 a.m., the distinctive purr of an exceptional engine drew attention outside. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, a vehicle unlike any other glided to a stop directly in front of the main entrance. Conversations halted mid-sentence. Even Tyler, typically unimpressed by luxury vehicles given his daily proximity to them, felt his pulse quicken. A Bentley Bacla, but not just any Bacla. This was a custom model with a unique midnight blue finish that seemed to shift colors in the sunlight. Conservative estimates would place its value north of $1.8 million. "Is that Dash?" Richard Parker, the owner, had emerged from his office, drawn by the sudden silence. "The bespoke Bacla," Tyler confirmed, already moving toward the entrance. "Extremely rare configuration." A uniformed chauffeur exited the Bentley and walked around to open the rear passenger door with white-gloved precision. From the vehicle emerged a man of commanding presence, tall, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit that whispered rather than shouted its 5-figure price tag. His salt and pepper hair was perfectly groomed, his posture effortlessly authoritative. Tyler's salesman instincts kicked into overdrive. This was beyond a good prospect. This was the kind of client dealerships competed for, the kind whose purchases included not just one vehicle but potentially an ongoing relationship worth millions. "Good morning, sir. Welcome to Los Angeles Luxury Automobiles," Tyler called out, intercepting the distinguished visitor before any other salesperson could approach. "Tyler Reynolds, sales manager. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today." The man regarded Tyler with an unreadable expression, then offered a polite smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "David Wilson," he replied simply, offering a firm handshake. Tyler's mind raced. The name sounded vaguely familiar, but he couldn't immediately place it. Regardless, the Bentley spoke volumes about the man's financial status. "Mr. Wilson, it's truly an honor. What brings you to our humble establishment today? Perhaps I could show you our newest arrivals? We just received a limited edition dash." David raised a hand slightly, halting Tyler's practice pitch. "Actually, I'm here about a specific vehicle. The Viper Elite convertible. Emerald green." Tyler's smile broadened. "Excellent choice, sir. One of only 15 produced this year. I'd be delighted to show you. It's actually right over dash." "I know where it is," David interrupted smoothly. "My wife was here yesterday expressing interest in it." Tyler's customer service smile remained fixed, though confusion flickered in his eyes. "Your wife? I don't recall. Perhaps one of my colleagues assisted her." David's expression cooled noticeably. "No, Mr. Reynolds. You assisted her. Or rather, you refused to assist her. Samantha Wilson. She was wearing jeans and a white t-shirt. You suggested she might be more comfortable looking at pre-owned cars." The blood drained from Tyler's face as realization dawned. Behind him, he heard a small gasp from Marcus, who had been hovering nearby. "Mr. Wilson," Tyler stammered, his usual smooth delivery abandoning him. "There must be some misunderstanding. We welcome all customers here." By now, Richard Parker had approached, sensing a situation developing. "Is everything all right, Tyler?" David turned his attention to the owner. "Mr. Parker, I presume?" "Richard Parker, yes indeed. Welcome to Los Angeles Luxury Automobiles." "Thank you. I was just explaining to Mr. Reynolds that my wife visited yesterday, interested in purchasing the Viper Elite convertible as a gift for her sister. She was, however, treated in a manner that I find troubling." Richard's expression shifted rapidly from welcoming to concerned. "I'm sorry to hear that. I believe I was briefly involved in a conversation, but I wasn't aware of all the details." David nodded thoughtfully. "The details include your sales manager here suggesting that people like her don't belong in an establishment like this, based solely on her casual attire." By now, a small crowd had gathered, other salespeople, support staff, and even a few early customers. The showroom had gone completely silent. "Mr. Wilson," Tyler began, desperation creeping into his voice. "If there was any misunderstanding, It wasn't a misunderstanding," Marcus suddenly spoke up. All eyes turned to the young salesman, who looked surprised at his own courage. "Mrs. Wilson was treated poorly. She was polite and specific about her interest in the Viper Elite, and she was dismissed repeatedly based on her appearance." Tyler shot Marcus a withering look, but the damage was done. David turned back to Richard Parker. "You know, it's interesting. My wife founded and runs the Wilson Foundation for Children with Rare Diseases. It's been her life's work since before I met her. She's raised over $50 million for specialized medical equipment and research programs." He paused, letting this sink in. "Sam chooses to dress simply because she believes in living modestly despite our means. She finds it keeps her connected to the family she helps. It's one of the countless reasons I love her." Richard Parker had gone pale. "Mr. Wilson, I assure you this does not reflect the values of our dealership. We pride ourselves on actions speak louder than mission statements, Mr. Parker," David interrupted firmly. "Now, regarding the Viper Elite, I'm not here to purchase just one vehicle." Tyler perked up slightly at this, a glimmer of professional hope breaking through his distress. "I was planning to purchase the Viper Elite for my wife's sister, as Sam intended. But I was also considering a fleet replacement for our corporate vehicles, 7 in total. And my personal collection could use updating as well. Parker's eyes widened. A sale of that magnitude would make their quarterly targets in a single transaction. However, David continued, I find myself questioning whether this is the right establishment for such a significant investment. The silence in the showroom was absolute. Tyler looked physically ill. Mr. Wilson, Richard began desperately, I cannot apologize enough for this unfortunate incident. I assure you this is not how we conduct business. Please allow us to make this right. David considered this for a moment. Perhaps there is a way forward, he said finally, but it would require more than just selling me cars. Anything, Richard assured him quickly. The Wilson Foundation is hosting a benefit gala next month. We're raising funds for a new research initiative for children with rare autoimmune disorders. He turned to the mortified sales manager. Tyler, I think your presence would be educational. Tyler swallowed hard. Sir Dash. Not as a guest, David clarified. As a volunteer. The foundation is always looking for people to help with setup, to assist the children, to see firsthand the work being done. The implications were clear. This wasn't just about selling cars anymore, it was about learning a fundamental lesson in human value. Additionally, David continued, addressing Richard Parker, the dealership might consider implementing a training program on unconscious bias. I know several excellent consultants. Richard nodded emphatically. Absolutely. We would welcome such an initiative. As for the vehicles, David turned to Marcus, the young salesman who had spoken up. I'd like you to handle all the paperwork, starting with the Viper Elite for my sister-in-law. Marcus's eyes widened. Me? I thank you, sir. I'd be honored. Good, David said with finality. Now, shall we discuss the specifics of the corporate fleet? As they moved toward Parker's office, David paused in front of the Viper Elite, running his hand along its sleek contour. My wife has excellent taste, doesn't she? Behind them, Tyler Reynolds stood motionless, his perfect world fundamentally altered. The harsh truth had finally dawned on him. He had revealed his character not by how he treated those he thought important, but by how he treated those he believed were not. 1 month later, the Wilson Foundation Benefit Gala transformed the Grand Beverly Hills Hotel into a celebration of possibility. Children with various rare diseases and their families mingled with donors, medical professionals, and supporters. Near the entrance, Tyler Reynolds dressed not in his usual attire but in the event staff uniform, directed guests and assisted a young girl in a wheelchair. The past month had changed him profoundly. His volunteer work at the foundation had started as an obligation, the price of professional survival, but something unexpected had happened as he witnessed the challenges these children faced daily, and the dignity with which they met them. Across the room, Sam Wilson, elegant in a simple green dress, approached him. How are you finding the experience, Tyler? She asked. He considered the question seriously. Humbling, he finally answered. And necessary. Sam nodded. Lily seems to have taken a liking to you, she observed, referring to the girl in the wheelchair. She's teaching me about adaptive art, Tyler admitted. Apparently, I have terrible color sense. This drew a genuine laugh from Sam. Tyler's expression grew serious. Mrs. Wilson, I know I've apologized formally, but I need to say it directly. I'm truly sorry for how I treated you. There's no excuse. You're right, there isn't, she agreed, but without malice. The question is, what have you learned? That worth isn't determined by appearance, position, or possessions, he said thoughtfully, and that everyone deserves respect until they prove otherwise, not the other way around. Good lessons, Sam acknowledged. Expensive ones too, I imagine, Tyler nodded ruefully, thinking of the substantial business the dealership had lost when David Wilson decided to purchase only the Viper Elite and not the additional fleet. Worth every penny, he replied sincerely. Across the room, David joined them, placing a gentle hand on his wife's shoulder. Tyler was just sharing some of his insights, Sam explained. David nodded. I hear you've become quite involved with the arts program. Yes, sir. In fact, I've signed up to continue volunteering after my required period. He hesitated, then added, and I've been working with Mr. Parker on revamping our customer approach at the dealership. No more qualifying by appearance. I'm glad to hear it, David said, then surprised Tyler by adding, which reminds me that corporate fleet I mentioned. We're still in the market. Perhaps you could handle that transaction? Marcus speaks highly of how you've been mentoring him. Tyler's expression registered shock before settling into genuine gratitude. I would be honored, Mr. Wilson. Truly honored. Later that evening, as the event wound down, Tyler watched Sam and David Wilson working the room, not flaunting their wealth or influence, but connecting genuinely with each child and family. He reflected on how completely his perception had been transformed. A month ago, he would have dismissed someone like Samantha Wilson based on her casual appearance. Now he understood that true value ran deeper than designer labels, luxury cars, or executive titles. As Tyler helped Lily back into her wheelchair after a photo session, the girl grinned up at him. "You know what, Mr. Tyler? You're pretty cool for a grown-up." Tyler smiled. "Coming from you, Lily, that's the highest compliment I've received in a very long time." And he meant it. We all make judgments based on appearances, don't we? But as Tyler Reynolds discovered, looking beyond the surface can reveal extraordinary people and life-changing opportunities. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and join our community at Endless Romance. We bring you powerful stories each week that remind us of the important values in life and the unexpected lessons we can learn from one another. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our latest uploads that will warm your heart and inspire your soul. What did you think of Tyler's journey? Have you ever misjudged someone based on their appearance or been misjudged yourself? Share your experiences in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And remember, the true measure of wealth has nothing to do with your bank account. It's about how you treat others when you think no one important is watching. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in our next video on Endless Romance, where another powerful story awaits.